Good afternoon, guys. This is Jesse. I'm here with Dr. Lane, and we got Dr. Mortensen back in the house after quite a significant injury he's had. How long ago was it?
Well, May 28th.
Okay.
So this is like
It's
day
been
15 or something.
2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
And I saw you 3 days ago or 4 days ago, something like that, and you're drastically improved by
Yeah,
then.
getting a little better every day considering I was in the ICU a week ago.
Mm-hmm. And it all started symptomatically, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I was in Tahiti surfing Chopu, and the waves are good, sizable, good crew out there. And I suddenly got double vision. As soon as I hit the water, I'm like, something's not right with me. And I'm like, what's going on? Do I have a vertebral arterial dissection? Because I suddenly felt really weak, double vision, hard to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is three things, being a doctor. I'm like, this could be a vertebral arterial dissection. Young people, athletes can sometimes have that, especially if they have a history of neck trauma, which I do. Broke my spinous process in my neck probably 25 years ago. But I'm like, that's not likely. What else could it be? It could be botulism poisoning, which, you're in Tahiti eating new stuff.
Sure, yeah.
Because I just felt so weak from the head, kind of going down. My legs were fine, but I couldn't talk. And then the other thing, which I didn't know about until I got back and researched it, I'm like, it could also be like a reverse Guillain-Barré type illness where you just get Guillain-Barré is ascending paralysis. So that means your paralysis starts in your legs and then moves up and gets so bad people end up not breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Same with botulism poisoning. So I'm like, something's definitely going on. But I got back to, long story short, I ate crap on this perfect wave that came. Hold down wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I got to go because,
You noticed it right when you came up, your eyesight was off?
Well, I knew I was just going to eat it because it was like, barring a miracle, when you can't see straight, it's hard to balance straight.
I'm surprised you even took off on it.
Yeah, I know, but whatever. Thought maybe the wipeout might knock me
Set
back
you
to my
up
senses
straight.
big time. Luckily, my buddy was there on a ski because I started swimming over, and now it's suddenly hard to breathe. I'm like, and not because of the hold down. I'm used to those, being a surfer and having been in those elements many times in my life.
Yeah, it's not new to you.
But I was very thankful for that ski right there. I'm like, dude, something's not right. I threw up a couple times on the way back to the lodging. And I think that was just because of the diplopia, the double vision. As soon as I got back, I got on the computer. I'm like, what is like Guillain-Barré? But it starts in the head with double vision, difficulty swallowing, and weakness. And Miller-Fisher syndrome popped up, which maybe I've read about once or twice.
It's such a rare condition.
Most doctors probably never heard of it. Or if they have, we forget about it because it's like 1 in a million.
When I was at the hospital visiting you, we talked to that neurologist, and she said the hospital only seen one other case that had it, and it was like in 2000.
Well, that's how I roll, man. The last time I was in the hospital was 30 years ago with a flesh-eating staph infection.
Is that right?
Yeah, 4 people died in the county that year.
Oh, my God.
2 of us lived, so
wow.
Haven't been back to the hospital since. Knock
Can't
on
take you
wood.
down. Should have got a lottery ticket.
Yeah, when I go, I go big,
But what causes the Miller-Fisher?
So I have like my own theory that we can delve into later, but typically what causes it is you get a little illness, whether it's CMV, cytomegalovirus virus, or Epstein-Barr, or just Campylobacter is the biggest one. That's a GI issue. I was sick like a week before.
You had a respiratory.
Yeah, I had a respiratory, so it wasn't Campylobacter because that's more GI, right? So, but also COVID is lately causing a lot of this, a lot of weird autoimmune stuff.
Like COVID itself or the vaccination?
Both. Yeah, both. Yeah, so that's why I tell people, like, whether you got vaccinated or not, it's, in my opinion, a man-made spike protein that's just messing up your immune system. And what was really interesting is we did all these tests in the hospital. My neurodoc, Dr. Safrani, was awesome. I got discharged from an ER, right? They're like, you're fine, dude. They didn't run a blood panel. And I'm like, instead of arguing, because I was a lot better than I am now, I'm like, that, there's something wrong. But instead of arguing.
You got worse from that point on, right?
Yeah. They're like, you just go home and, probably a bug or something like that. I'm like,
Which almost seems irresponsible in some sense.
It's just mainstream med, man. If you're not dying, especially in the ER, dude, those guys are dealing with people dying. I'm like, I know something bad's coming, but it wasn't bad enough yet for them to, raise the alarm. So I just went to another hospital, which I think is a good trick for patients. It's like, if you're not getting good care somewhere, like go somewhere else.
Yeah. You, with your background, were you kind of leading them in the direction, holding their hand in some sense?
I could have told them, like, no, I need a spinal tap, and I need you to check for anti-GQ1B antibodies, because that's what it is. Very specific, but pathonomic. If you have those, oh yeah, you got this. And the spinal tap would show like high protein, which it eventually did. But like I said, I just went to another place. And I don't really care how brilliant a doctor is, or a PA or NP or a naturopathic doctor. What I care about is like how much they care about you.
Yeah, of course.
To me, that's the most important. Like, it's finding someone who has time, who can, put time into your case. Because that's really, you don't have to be a genius to figure stuff out. It's still mostly a protocol.
Yeah. Did you find that at the second hospital?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, Dr. Safrani was on it. She's like, we're going to run this test. We're going to do that. She even, just to rule it out, called for antitoxin for botulism, which the CDC has to drive up from LA under police escort. So she went big, dude.
No way that happened.
Yeah, call it up, dude. Let's do it. I'm not paying
that
for
negative?
it. Yeah, I was negative because
Okay,
it didn't
so
help, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, damn it, that would have been nice, because then you get instantly better.
Yeah. So at what point did you get diagnosed with what you actually have?
Well, that one, we're actually still waiting for the test to come back. But the fact that I had on the spinal tap too, the guy did a great job. It was like the most gentle spinal tap I've had. And he just eyeballed it. I'm like, this guy's good.
The VA, they would have put it through my
Oh
body.
my God.
And
I
missed
had
my
one.
spine completely.
So when I had my flesh-eating staph infection in high school, it was the worst spinal tap of all time. I think the guy went too far. I was actually scraping my spine. I'm like,
No
that's not the
kidding.
spot, dude.
And you were like a kid.
I was a kid in high school. I'm like, so you don't know better, but needless to say, yeah, I think those anti-GQ1B antibodies test is in now, so I just got to call and confirm. 80% of the time you'll see that, but it's kind of a diagnosis of exclusion too. It's like,
so what did they exclude?
They did an MRI on the brain, which I told you when you visited me was so tough because I couldn't swallow. So all my spit was like gathering in the back of my throat. And I'm like, dude, I want to drown in this MRI tube. I had to call timeout and like dry my mouth out with a paper towel, because out of everything, it was touch and go a couple times when I'd take a sip of water and I would choke on it.
Yeah.
That happened 3 times.
Scary.
It was pretty, like I play it up, try to stay in a good mood, because you can still control your attitude and be like, yeah, this sucks, but it could be worse, dude. So
it always could be worse, but that's pretty bad. I mean, don't sell yourself short. That
it
sucks.
was pretty bad. And then again, being a waterman of sorts, I'm like, all right, don't panic. I still have a little airway open. I would just go tripod position and be wheezing like for like 5 minutes. I'm like, if I actually aspirated Jimi Hendrix style, there's no way a nurse is going to come in here and be able to intubate me in time and call the RT team. So I actually told my doctors, I'm like, dude, leave a BVM in here, which is a bag valve mask, just so I can like oxygenate myself if something happens, and a suction. So they did. They put a suction in there, and so every time, when I couldn't swallow, I would just suction my mouth out on my own.
That's good.
It was pretty rad. Yeah.
It's so crazy to me that it was like a team effort. Like, you obviously worked with them to diagnose and like all your treatments that you had. And that's crazy that this, with how rare it is, happened to you, who has the experience and was able to get through it. But I can't imagine someone who like doesn't know what they're dealing with or the treatment or anything like that.
Non-medical.
Yeah, to experience.
Yeah, it
this
was
must be
nice because we
terrifying.
expedited things for sure. If you know what to say, and that's another thing I like to teach my patients. Like, if you go to the ER, tell them you got a little chest pain, radiating down the left arm. If they, if they have something going on, it's like there's things you can say to get seen, and
Sudden onset headache.
yeah, Yeah, there's some red
Thunderclap.
flag terms because you don't want to like test it. You don't want to be like, all right, well, I probably would have got intubated, but I don't want to find out,
Yeah.
if they made it in time or not. The nice thing is you have a good team of hospitalists, internal med, neuro, but they're busy, man, and you don't want to be just a number. And I think you can attract, what's that saying? Attract a lot more flies with honey than
vinegar. Yeah, honey than vinegar or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But being nice to everyone, that everyone returns that in spades. And I wasn't demanding. I was just like trying to have a good time and get to know people in the hospital and not be that annoying doctor guy. It's like, no, you should do this or do that. And the whole team there where I was at, which was Simi Valley Adventist, was so caring. I've never seen a hospital, that clean and that caring. So that was very cool.
What treatments did they put you on initially at the hospital? And then I want to hear what additional treatments you brought in on your own accord.
Okay, so the only thing that works for this is two things, IVIg and plasmapheresis. I wanted plasmapheresis because that takes your bad anti-GQ1B antibodies out. And what those antibodies are doing is, it's called molecular mimicry, right? Whatever the first insult was, whether it was COVID or Epstein-Barr or CMV, the body immune system attacks it, takes it out, right? Does what it's supposed to do. But my immune system and that pathogen was so close to my myelin sheath, these parts on my motor neurons that you actually need, it's the insulation on your motor neurons, that my immune system got rid of that virus and then started attacking my motor neurons because it was so similar. That's called molecular mimicry. And it happens with a lot of diseases. Sidman's chorea after rheumatoid fever, all these Guillain-Barré, like we talked about. Autoimmune's gnarly because your body's doing what it's supposed to. It's just a little confused.
Yeah, it's always been such an interesting thing to me to experience.
And what was really neat was to see how strong, because I used to be sick a lot when I was a kid, right? And I'm like, oh, I'll be sick. I'll get through this. How much crap I had, because they ran a lot of tests. I had West Nile virus. Never knew that. Overcame it, no problem. I had
I remember you telling me
Lyme
about
disease.
this.
Never knew that. Overcame it, no problem.
Could it have been Lyme,
Epstein-Barr.
Neuro?
Overcame it, no problem. I have like the antibodies for it. Yeah. They checked neurosyphilis. We checked everything. Glad to say no STIs in there. I was showing everyone that. Look at, I don't even have herpes 1 or 2. Let's make sure everyone saw that. But everything else I've caught and overcome pretty well.
Yeah.
As you get older, I think so here's my theory, the combination of microplastics, heavy metals, a toxic world, EMFs, vaccines, your immune system gets confused. It's like, we don't know what to attack. We have such a long list of our memory cells, right? That we're like confused now. Like, this is so close to this thing. We're going to go after it. That's my theory. I think in my post, I said, we're going to see a lot more crazy illnesses, accelerated cancers, and just mystery diseases like this post-COVID.
Yeah, it's like a huge downside of like modern biology is, especially in our culture, as time goes on, we're starting to see the normalcy of like cancer, for example.
Right. And young people.
Rampant. Yeah, it's crazy.
Part of that is the world we live in. It's so toxic. We made it this way. We're only creatures making a habitat that's hostile to our own survival, right?
But didn't you already have some, like you did a neural zoomer before this even happened? How many?
Well, that's why I think vaccines kind of messed up my immune system. My medical school had me by the balls. I got myocarditis with the 3rd COVID booster. I didn't want to take it, obviously, because we also knew, there's a couple things we knew, but we couldn't say. We knew the death rate on COVID was really low, especially for people like me, almost non-existent, less than the flu for most people. If you had a coagulopathy that you didn't know about, or diabetes, overweight, hypertension, that kind of thing, then you want to be careful with it. And also, it was, in my opinion, the other thing we knew, this probably accidentally came from a lab. If you said that in 2020, March, when we knew it, I would have got kicked out of med school. I would have been booted. So I had to toe the line.
God, it sucks that politics can get in the way of truth. Something that's so black and white.
I mean, that's life, dude. It's always been that way. if the powers that be can grab A, more money, or B, more power, they will.
Yeah.
And that's one thing we can say freely now, because that's why everyone kind of subjugated and said, they bent the knee worldwide. There's only a couple countries that are like, nah, we're not doing that. We're not closing down.
Yeah.
I think Sweden and Denmark, my Viking brothers, were like some of the few that were just like, nah, we're good. But when you give away power, the government is very adverse to giving it back. So that was one thing. And then my school, I felt like it was a power thing because I got myocarditis on my 3rd booster.
Mm-hmm.
And me, I was a little cocky.
You've gotten 3 boosters?
Well, I got 2. I got the Moderna, right?
Mm-hmm.
Twice, and then a booster, yeah. And
Okay, I see.
3 shots altogether.
And I was $500,000 out. I would have been kicked out if I didn't get it, right? Because
I've had friends in the military who've gotten kicked out.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, I was like, maybe I should have been one of those, defiant warriors and said no. But I was cocky enough to be like, dude, my immune system's so good. You can inject me with rat poison, I won't die.
Yeah.
But I did get a little myocarditis on the 3rd booster, and then I got like a little brain fog. I'm like, damn it. The other thing is, like, I know how to clear this. Like, I did have high anti-Casper-2 antibodies are floating around, and I'm like, all right, well, yeah, I got to work on this because you're right, Dr. Elaine. Something was amiss. And the funniest part was they tried to make me get a 4th one. And I'm like, guys, I had myocarditis. Like, are you guys idiots? Like, you do not give a 4th booster to someone who got a bad reaction. And it was even in our medical textbooks at that point, like, be careful for young, healthy males.
Yeah.
That's like the one population you don't want to give this to because bad things can happen. So I am proud to say on the 4th one, I'm like, no, you guys can pounce, man.
Yeah.
Anyways, I avoided it, but the damage had already been done. So what I really needed in the hospital for this thing, I got IVIg, and that's like a good antibody that floods your system, binds to these FC receptors so that the bad antibody that's tearing up, putting like, moth-eaten spots in your myelin sheath can't attach. So you just flood your body with good antibodies, right? That's the theory, or immunoglobulin. And it works. Like, I'm getting 1% better every day. But what I wanted to do anyway, especially because I had this vaccine injury, is plasmapheresis, where it's like an oil change for your blood. And you just be like, dude, get this out right now. And while you're at it, take out some of these microplastics, any lingering heavy metals. Let's just reset it, dude.
Kind of sounds like Ebu, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's similar.
It is like Ebu, and we have stuff here like high dose ozone. Plasmapheresis, for whatever reason, you can get in the UK and Dubai and Cabo, but they won't like approve these machines in the US, which sucks.
What's the reason you think?
FDA is just really slow, especially for this cash pay type stuff. But I know Dr. Holtorf wants to do this. Plasmapheresis will be like the holy grail of accelerated healing in the next decade.
Well, he wants anispheresis. What's the difference?
Well, he has that one, and there's Clarify. There's a bunch of different machines. Some of them are easier than others. Some of them you need a central line for. Some of them you can get away with an 18 gauge.
18 gauge.
Yeah, the whole idea is just to like swap out your plasma and let's start fresh, because your bone marrow remembers like those memory cells we're talking about. You'll still produce your good antibodies, so you won't like catch all those childhood diseases over again, but you'll get rid of all the toxins and pollutants that you acquire just by living.
Right. So they replace your plasma with albumin, basically.
And saline. And so there's different, I think in euphoresis, there's a different method with replacing the albumin. Because some people don't like the synthetic albumin, whatever, or the albumin replacement. But you change
But in those with like autoimmune, they're saying that like the young blood, like getting that injected to you is not good. So you would rather do the albumin.
Right. And that's kind of where I was. It's like, you're asking me what interventions we did. You should know. You brought them over. I was...
Obviously, we're on a podcast. So I didn't know all these questions I'm asking you.
I was wary about the immuno boosters because my immune system being so strong is why I got so worked. Because it went after what it thought was a pathogen. But I'm like, no, bro. I need those myelin sheath, dude. That's how your body tells your fingers to move and stuff, right? And so now...
the speed of it.
Yeah. And I'm like, operating like a crappy, iPhone charger.
Mhm.
Just imagine it all just like moth eaten, right? It's barely gonna work.
Yeah.
So that's how all my muscles are, right? There's barely getting any power. They're sitting there, the muscles are fine. There's like, let's go, man. You're not giving me enough
Signal.
Yeah, exactly. So I told you, like, I went on a walk with my mom, who's been through all sorts of health things. I've been spending the last 5 years getting her better. Broken femur, adenocarcinoma, vertebral compression fracture. So we put her on testosterone and some peptides, and she's happy to say it, she's almost 80, but walking like 2 or 3 miles a day, kicking butt, super strong. I told her today, I'm like, I created a monster because I went on a mile walk with her yesterday, and it took me 26 minutes to do 1 mile. It was like I was in the death zone on Everest. Every step was just like, this is a workout, man. And she's like, you want to keep going? I'm like, no. I just tap out. So very humbly. But, also, it's like sometimes you're going to be taking care of people, and sometimes you're going to be needing someone to take care of you.
Yeah. Well, it was like me. You took care of me a couple years ago, remember? I mean,
Yeah.
I was in the same situation.
And that was heavy, and it's so nice to see you not just 100%, but like 110%,
Definitely.
Everything, because I don't think you realize being the patient, like how jacked up you are. I posted something, I'm like, I'll just let my patients know I'm like a little messed up right now. And the outpouring of support was like so overwhelming. Also, because I couldn't talk, I had a stroke. So I guess, when you're in it, you don't realize how touch and go it is.
It was very dramatic, for sure.
When you were down and out, I remember, like, man, we got your brain function back, because you were like almost concussed every day.
I couldn't even talk, remember?
It was insane.
We didn't have a conversation.
It was insane. And everything we did was like helpful. But ultimately, it also just takes time, Like every peptide, he brought up a bunch, thanks to you guys.
Yeah. What were some of those peptides and those treatments that were brought in outside of what the hospital was giving you?
So it's pretty funny, because like some nerdy internal med guy caught us doing glutathione, and just like ratted me out to my neurodoc, who loves me and didn't care. She's like, it's glutathione, dude, chill. Really what it was like a whole tray of secret peptides. And we were doing them all. Like, if there's ever a time, I'd just done my labs before this whole thing hit, and everything was good. So I wasn't taking anything. My testosterone was good. My human growth hormone / IGF was great. I think I showed them to you, right? Like everything was pretty solid, dude.
It was.
There's a little mold sensitivity, and I think that was it. So I wasn't doing a lot of stuff, if anything, just supplements like choline and magnesium, astaxanthin, those 3. But when something like this hits, man, you want to throw every peptide you can at it. I just want to be careful. I want to be careful with the thymosin alpha, the thymulin, anything that was boosting the immune system.
It might counter. I mean, it might work for what's attacking you.
I want my immune system to chill.
Yeah.
So I was thinking maybe low dose naltrexone. So what really helped was NAD, which isn't even a peptide, it's a coenzyme. And then glutathione was very helpful, which is a peptide, it's a tripeptide. It reduces like free radicals, right? And so my body is just like super damaged, because it's like my nerves just got hammered. And so there's a lot of inflammation and healing that needs to happen. HGH boosters, again, I'm like, okay, I gotta be careful with those, because they'll make me stronger and make this more robust. What I really need is to get this crap out of my blood. So I'm gonna do plasmapheresis in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Moving forward, what is the timeline and sort of the journey you have ahead of you?
Well, I want to get the IVIg time to work. Like I said, every day I'm getting a little better. And that's what was sketchy for the first 12 days. I was getting worse. I'm like, dude, when am I going to turn the corner? And it got so bad, I bought like a home suction unit just to suction out my spit, because I couldn't swallow. And once I woke up one day, and I think my speech was a little better. I'm like, okay, thank God.
When was that?
It was, I think, Sunday. It was a Sunday, last Sunday. When you're relatively healthy, you can go get sunlight in the morning. You can get good rest. You can do a workout. You can do all those like 7 pillars of health. In the hospital, I couldn't do any of them. It was just crazy. I couldn't see sunlight, dude. I couldn't watch the sunset. I Couldn't feel the wind on my face. Couldn't do a workout. I could go for like a little walk around the unit, right? So you think they check for like vitamin D or testosterone or anything like that in the hospital? B12? No. It's the last thing they check. And that's why I don't know how people get better in the hospital. It just shows you how resilient the human body is, because you need to be in there sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
But you're in there like naked. You're not getting just basic survival
Yeah, and you deal with depression too. I mean, anytime you're in the hospital, you're depressed. It's like, that's how it is.
For me, it was kind of like nice because it was like a forced vacation. I just had to chill. I couldn't even do my patient notes because I had double vision, so I couldn't see. And the outpouring of support was just overwhelming. Sometimes in life, you think you're just doing it alone, and then something like this will happen. It's like, whoa. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do have all these friends that care about me and family, and people are driving up like you guys. I was just like overwhelmed by that. I'm like,
yeah.
So if there's a silver lining, that was it. It was like everyone checking in, being like, hey, I saw you're not doing well. We're praying for you, thinking about you. Is there anything you need? Funniest thing is I didn't tell my best friends where I was, so they just had to like do a scavenger hunt to find me. I gave all of them like one clue.
Yeah, it's like a game.
Yeah, I sent a photo. I'm like, here's a photo of the outside the window. I'm like, that's the only clue you're getting.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious because they all talked to each other and they just showed up. It was cool to see everyone.
Do you feel like you've gained anything as like a person, medical professional from this in regards to like empathy for people who are dealing with similar things, a better understanding of certain things? Like, is there any upside to this that you can think of?
Yeah, that not taking your friends and family for granted, not thinking you're going it alone, not being bummed out that you give so much, and as providers, you don't tend to get a lot back, but secretly you are, because you're making a difference. So that was a huge epiphany. It's like, oh, people remember.
Yeah.
What I did when they were down and out, you know? So that was cool. Empathy, I think, has always been there for us three, you know? I think empathy's high, almost too much so sometimes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Elaine was crying
I'm
more
crying
than
right now.
I was. Seeing me all out of commission, but a lot of people were like more worried than I was. I'm like, 95% chance I'll be back to 100%.
Yeah, dude, I saw that video. That's how I found out, by the way, man. You didn't tell anyone. You posted it for everyone at once. So that's why it was like a giant, just immediate, everyone's responding.
Yeah, and I wasn't going to post that because I was like, whatever. I just, suffer in silence type thing. But I had so many patients wondering where I was and like, what's going on.
You're also so stubborn.
We need our NAD. A little bit stubborn.
A little bit. A lot of bit.
Don't want people being a caretaker. It's hard to humble yourself and be like, all right, I need someone to help take care of me. So that was a good lesson. I think the biggest lesson too is to be more vocal with people and lay it out, because like the empathy's there, the skills are there, like get people better. But sometimes it takes time and patience, with having patience to get better. Like as providers, we want to get people better like tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes it ain't gonna happen, dude. Nerves don't grow back in a day. It's going to take 3 months.
When I had neuropathy in my leg years ago, well, I think they say an inch a month for your nerves to grow back,
like
something like that. Yeah, exactly. It's like a good comparison. Yeah. But I mean, it took me like a year for just those nerves to repair. Yeah. And the neuropathy was the most painful experience I'd ever had in my life.
When you said you were getting better, like 1%, better each day, I was like, unacceptable.
I know. But it's headed in the right direction, so I can live with that. I can live with, as long as it's headed in the right direction. Yeah. I mean, you should have heard me talk on Monday. I couldn't talk. And that's when you're like, you sound way better. And I watched that video we did of doing a bunch of illicit peptides. We did BPC. We did
Cerebro.
TV500. I did a bunch of Cerebro. The NAD, glutathione, and then I have over-the-counter choline, over-the-counter or oral KPV. That's pretty much it. But I used to be like, I'll just do one peptide at a time. But when you're like down and out, it's kind of good to hit it all. Throw the whole sink at it. Throw the whole sink at it. You're not going to know what worked better than the other, but
it doesn't even matter at that point.
It doesn't matter. It's going to get better. Yeah. And the NAD is like the one thing that's been very helpful. It gives me
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 hours where I feel like, okay,
Well, it's not just energy; it's also
repair.
neuroprotective.
Yeah.
So.
Which almost every peptide was. I had some time just like, okay, what peptide, on Grok and ChatGPT. I'm like, pretend you're the world's best neurodoc and like, what outside treatments besides IVIg and plasmapheresis would you recommend? And I gave it a list because you got to kind of guide it. And it wasn't very helpful.
Yeah.
It's like literally every peptide was neuroprotective. Like, which one isn't neuroprotective? They all are. Which is kind of true, but the KPV, I think, for me, has been helpful in the past because I have like autoimmune issues anyways. And that helps. And that's kind of a lesser known one. Everyone's like PPC, TB500. And that one personally, hasn't worked great for me, but I'm doing it. I'm doing a bunch of it, even with the GHK-CU, because that's neuroprotective too. So again, like you said, Jess, I'm throwing the whole kitchen sink at him.
And it's like these certain peptides, like they are only going to benefit everyone. Like it's such a vast amount of benefits with limited side effects, and it can help everyone with any condition. So it's very generalized in that sense. So it's one of those things where you can pretty much take it all, indefinitely, obviously cycle it on and off, but
Totally.
it's only going to be of benefit to you.
Right. But when I got discharged from that first hospital, I went home, like, maybe I can fix this with just peptides. But then I realized there's no way to do that because I got to turn off my own body's immune system, or at least no way I could figure out. So the hospital, like mainstream medicine, has a place too. It's like IVIg, plasmapheresis, because there's no peptide that will yet that I know of, like, hey, change these anti-GQ1B antibodies, turn them off.
They're not specific.
No, but someday, especially with AI, that's what AI is so scary, but that's what it's doing. It'll be able to figure out everything in like 10, 15 years.
Or maybe
Like,
bioregulators.
literally, you could design a peptide to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bioregulators. Those are more specific because they're shorter chain, 2 to 4 amino acids long.
As we understand more about protein folding and what proteins do, there's something called AlphaFold right now that's figuring out every protein, not just that, hypothetical proteins. It did it faster in the last year than it's taken PhDs 30 years.
No kidding.
It's insane. So, yeah, because it's very complex 4-dimensional structure, meaning it's folded a certain way, and then it's also the time. It's shaped like this, and I'll switch to that. So
Also has to fit like lock and key.
exactly, like glucokinase, just converting a molecule of glucose to energy 1,000 times a minute in any given cell. Your proteins are just like, that's what I'm talking about. This
Unreal.
the human body is so complex, and immunology is so difficult to understand. But in the next 10 years, there's going to be a lot of advancements.
Yeah.
Where we can be like, hey, figure this out and design a peptide for this, and we can do it.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me how with modern science and what we understand with the human body and things we've created to help us, it never ends. Like we're advancing and creating new things and discovering new things like every day.
Yeah,
and
and
there's really no end to it.
It's about to get really scary in the next 10, 15 years. I'm not sure I'm looking forward to it. Well, with robotics and Neuralink and AI and quantum computing, don't even get me started on that. It's like we're opening up dimensions of knowledge that we know nothing about. And so we're going to be handing off the baton to inanimate creatures that are way smarter than all humans put together. So what do we do with that? If we use it for good, great. If we
It's like
don't,
real Terminator, basically, is the storyline of which we're
100%.
on.
And I find that funny, like any movie you've watched, whether it's, I think Johnny Depp was in one where he uploaded his consciousness.
Transcendence.
Was
or
that what it's
something
called?
like that, yeah.
I mean, they've done that on worms already. So like eventually that's going to be an option. You
There's
can
the
upload
worms
your
that came back to
consciousness.
life after like 10,000 years that were frozen. Did you hear about that?
Those are tardigrades, probably you're talking about.
I can't.
Water
recall.
bears?
No, it was worms. There
Huh.
was like some worms that were frozen in the ice in like Russia, and they brought them back to life after 10,000 years.
Well, those are worms. It's harder, right? If it was like a more complex species.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna have to like download a Neuralink, just keep up, have AI in your brain.
Dude, it's
I ain't
hard to
doing it.
not it's hard
You
to
guys
not
might-
like think of conspiracy theories when you go down the road to this. In regards to like AI, you know, like at some point we'll be able to create a dimension that you won't be able to tell this from that. And with that being said, is this real? Like, because theoretically, if we can get to that point, we might have already gotten to that point. I mean,
But yeah, you're
who's to
100%
say?
correct, and that's why when Musk and other guys were saying, "Oh, we live in a simulation," 10 years ago, most people were like, "No, we don't."
Mhm.
But now we see how good our simulations are. It's like, oh, well, that's
It's
probable.
making so much more sense. Yeah.
Once we know the fine tuning of the universe, the odds of a single protein folding correctly, which is more than all the atoms in the universe, but it happens in our body. We have 80,000 unique ones. You stack all those odds together. There's no way we're here by random accident. That much is for sure. And that you can see that already. You can see all these diehard atheists and scientists being going, no, there's something more. You know, it's not just random. It's either a simulation or multi-universe theory or God or whatever. But there's no way, once we learn about the sophistication of life on planet Earth in this universe, that we're here by random chance. It's impossible statistically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We take it for granted, but it's amazing to think when you sit down and really.
It is
shed light on it.
amazing to think because it gives you more passion to do what you're good at, whatever that might be. I call it your noble pursuit. It might not be something you love, but if you're good at it, do it. Create, teach, cure, heal, whatever it is, do it. And then also, like when you zoom out, it's like when you realize there is a meaning to life, it kind of helps you get through those hard times. Like we're not here by accident. This is such a small little blip on eternity that I can get through anything in a short enough timeline. You know?
There's like two important times in your life, like the time that you were born and then the time that you realize why you were born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
So that's the long and short of it. I really appreciate you guys for bringing up NAD, peptides, and then all the materials so we can mix them in the hospital room 314.
Well, you have to give credit also to Dr. H.
Dr.
I went to his
Holtar.
house and grabbed
It
everything.
was such a mission impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Lori was
And
super
Lori,
loving.
yeah.
Gina, the whole team here. And then all my friends and family that just happened to see my Instagram post. I think I had like 150, 200 messages, on the dailies. Like, how you doing? People still checking in. How you doing? Not great, but I'm getting better every day. We're on the right direction. I can talk. I can swallow. Like eating was so nice to be able to eat without choking.
Yeah.
That, I could get rid of the paper towels, drying my spit out. It was... The other gift was like, I kind of felt, this is what it's going to be like when you're 100. So everyone wants to be younger and live longer. But right now, we're pretty healthy and fit and active. And so also appreciate what we got right now. You should be waking up every day just thanking God that you can run up the stairs or go outside for a walk or play with your kids or tell jokes with your friends. We get dragged down by such nuanced bullshit all the time that we should be impervious to that, but we're not. We get sucked into it.
I appreciate you coming down.
Yeah.
I was surprised you were even able to, which is amazing in itself.
Yeah. The Tesla drove me most of the way.
Okay.
I told him to like tie his head to his headrest.
Yeah.
That's his forehead.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you guys. Like, it's awesome being able to come back and see everyone, give everyone hugs, and we're all in it together. So.
Yeah. You'll be hearing updates. Obviously, Scott's family to us. We'll be here often. So
Anytime.
thank you for joining.
Give me a hug. So sweet. Your hard exterior. I love these hard kick-ass girls because they have hearts of gold.